Hi, welcome to my channel, Compass Starlight. I've been meaning for a few days to get into this topic. The topic of showing up for yourself. What was the last thing you did to really show up for yourself? How did you show up for yourself? What does the phrase mean to you? I think for me, it's about staring risk in the face. And of course, I'm not really talking about getting in a car or other mode of transportation, though that depends on your cultural experience. For example, for a person that is scared of heights and has never been on a plane, taking a plane ride would certainly qualify. At least for my take on what it means to show up for yourself. It's about fear and desire. It's about comprehending that dynamic, dualistic excitement, making a commitment to self to explore that fear and desire and excitement, and following through despite the risk. The risk of danger, the risk of rejection, the risk of pure joy and happiness in the moment with yourself, your ambition, and the achievement of a goal. Last summer I did something some would call risky. It was exciting. It was me pursuing my excitement, my happiness, my joy. Was there fear? I didn't recognize any. I had to take a good hard look at it too, because the activity I participated in with someone else who did have fear, and I was a little concerned that that wasn't present for me. The fear would have been one for injury, I suppose. But, however, I was engaged with confidence. There were a couple, oh, you brat, eating your sister's food. There were a couple of specific conversations in which I engaged toward the end of the summer where I showed up for myself in those as well. There were topics of conversation, specifically perhaps touchy subjects, in which I had to confront my own truth and honor myself and bring those subjects to the attention of someone else. And there was fear there too. Well, I shouldn't say too, but there was fear in facing those truths and having those conversations. But the risk was rejection, right? I had to share my honest truth and basically let the chips fall where they may, as they say. They did fall. Indeed they did. But it really didn't have any bearing on my words or the concepts shared during those conversations. The chips basically fell later when the other person with whom I was conversating, I felt was dishonest, but mostly didn't show up for themselves in truth when the solutions called for it. And then later still, closer to the end of the summer, I made a trip. I followed my heart. I showed up for myself without expectation to a known experience. I didn't know what I was getting into or where my heart was leading me. And I don't really talk about it that much, to be honest. I'm not sure that I'm finished growing from that experience, or maybe there are things from that experience that to this day are unresolved. They haven't, like, the cycle isn't finished. So I'm not really sure where to place all my feelings on those things. So was it a risk? Yes, it was a risk. Did I come into danger? No. Was I safe? Yes. Was it a good experience? It was definitely a growing experience. I'll put it that way. It still weighs heavily on my mind. It's prominent. But the big point I'm making is that I did show up for myself. I followed my heart. I followed where spirit was leading me. And I did grow from that experience. And have I taken other risks since then? Sure. Have I showed up for myself? You bet. I've been seizing opportunities, making bold moves in my life, rearranging priorities, and cutting out the BS ways that I give my time to people and things and circumstances and situations for which I have no depth of passion. I have to be honest with myself in that regard. I've been after that which moves me, closer to my goals, led by my heart, that excitement, that risk, joy, and fear. And I did make a video I put in my playlist. You can watch it if you want. It's called Sinus Rhythm. If you don't know what sinus rhythm is, it's depicted in what we see in hospitals, the black line that goes up and down, right? It's generally associated with your heart health. It shows your heart and organ function. Sometimes it's actually, if you're looking at a computer screen, it's green or blue or yellow. It's basically your vital functions. It's a sign of life. And when that stops, life stops. In the video, I talked about how there rarely feels like one big change, but rather the change is happening now. And I mean to say, the change is happening now. The change is happening now. It's happening. It just doesn't appear as dramatic or traumatic as a tidal wave. Instead, it appears as a series of much smaller, seemingly insignificant waves like the sinus rhythm. And I'm riding these waves. A lot is changing and transforming in my life, bit by bit, wave by wave. I'm about to embark on a new chapter. I know the waves will keep rolling in. I'm not moving from here to there. I'm moving from experience to experience, showing up for myself, following my heart, following my passions, hopefully. And I'll learn much from each experience. New eyes, new people, new adventures. I'm excited. And a note of appreciation and gratitude for all the places I will go and all the people I will meet in the future, as well as the random support and opportunities I'll receive along that journey. Perhaps a photographic journal. explorations on one of my other channels. How are you showing up for yourself? Because here's the thing. It's like there's the risk, and what can happen? What can happen? You get injured, you could fail, you could get rejected, you could be left weak and lonely. You could be left feeling desolate, broke. Why do we let our mind fill in those weighty, lower gaps of the sinus rhythm when we can focus on the highlights, the high life? Yes, there's a point to being pragmatic and logical and realistic and consider the possibilities. But you have power. You have power to maintain. You have power to succeed. So why not focus? Focus on the what if? What if it all works out? What if it works out and it's greater than I could ever have imagined? What if it all works out and it's like one big, fantastic dream, and that's the journey of my life? What if it all works out? What if it's filled with joy and laughter and mystery and fulfillment? That's the risk. Perhaps I've said before, what are you willing to give up? Would you give up everything, every material possession you have, just to achieve your greatest desire, your grandest dreams? To feel fulfilled and like you've lived a full life? Would you give it all up? Would you trade all the things and the routines? I gotta put that thing on again. What I'm getting at is, would you give it all up so that you could have it all? Is it worth it? If you know you could have it, why do you think we were put here? Well, were we here to experience the pain and the sorrow, the tristeza, the tears, the frustration, that feeling of imprisonment, the constraints, the oppression? Have you ever felt those things in your life? Why would you put yourself in a position again to ever feel any of those things? Find your happiness and go for it. Find your focus. Get your momentum. Haven't you been working on that? Haven't you been working on your momentum? Opening your heart up, letting the good things come in, all that abundance and prosperity, all the blessings. Where has your mind been? What are you building? What are you building for yourself? What are you making? What kind of pathway are you clearing? If you've been working towards it, take that leap. It's time. It's time to move forward. Make that trade. Mm-hmm. Show up for yourself. How can you honor yourself? How can you honor the Creator that gave you this life? How can you honor this life? What is it that you want to do? What are your dreams? It's time to fly. Thank you for coming to Compass Starlight.